It is painful for me to hear that there are business owners who are outsourcing their financials to AI. Is my gut reaction to this unwarranted?
As they always say, if you are using something for free, you are the product. So you have to assume that they're going to do whatever they want to with your information to make their product better. So I would say yes, confidential information, client proprietary information, financial information. It's not a good idea to put it in there because you don't know, again, not intentionally, but where it's going to end up.
On this show, we talk about how to use your numbers to manage your business and make business decisions. However, I recognize that AI is going to play a role in every single one of our businesses in some way or another. And one thing that I wanted to do in having you on the show is to decide as a CEO to step in our confidence and empowerment to say, I'm going to choose how I implement AI in my business and to feel empowered and not fear based in going into these decisions. I know that there's so many business owners who I've talked to that are approaching AI with fear. I want to have a moment where we can choose empowerment and excitement. And so I want to start this off by saying, why have you embraced AI in the way that you have?
Yeah, well, Danielle, so I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think there are a lot of people who are either they're a little bit afraid, and I think the fear is a sense of how is this going to impact their business?
Mhm.
Can AI do what their business does or some aspect of it? So I feel like there's a little bit of identity, like meaning and identity in there. There's also some skepticism about AI and maybe some of the ethical implications of using AI. So I think all of that is there. Now, when ChatGPT launched, this was almost 3 years ago now, I heard about it in the tech news and I immediately checked it out. And like so many of us, I was blown away, as the word started typing on the screen and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the first part of my career, I had founded and ran two technology companies. So I was a software developer. And so I had this techie side of me. So I immediately saw the potential and the implications for what ChatGPT and other types of AI tools could do. So I immediately started kind of working with it and figuring out what could I do with it for speaking your brand. And what I want, everyone to think about is that AI is probably already impacting your business, whether you realize it or not,
Yes.
because more and more people are probably getting information from AI chatbots that they may have come to you for or come to your website or your content for. So we can talk about kind of how to make sure AI chatbots are referencing you when they answer questions, as well as any other sources could also be impacting you in the sense of the types of services that you can provide or the content that you create. Now, there's so much more content online. I mean, there has been since the pandemic as more people have gone online, but now with AI, it's so easy to create content. So your content is probably it's noisier. So your content may not be as seen as by as many people. So, that's impacting your business. So I kind of put the lens on of I want to make sure that I am strengthening speaking your brand and what we're doing as much as possible to minimize whatever disruptions that AI is going to do, but then leverage the strengths that it has to make our work easier so that we can kind of take the monotonous, rote, repetitive tasks that I do or some of our team members do, have AI do that so we can do some of the other stuff that either we haven't had time to do or that would be more creative or more meaningful for our clients.
Yeah, I want to go through some of your ideas and experience share. Before we hit record, I had mentioned it is painful. I'm going to say painful. It is painful for me to hear that there are business owners who are outsourcing their financials to AI, meaning that they are uploading their financials and asking ChatGPT to analyze that and to give them guidance. And somewhere believe that there's some unethical behaviors there by AI. However, if we choose to put our financials into a free version of I still don't think that's as known as it should be on what we're entering into the bot. But talk to me a little bit about that. Is my gut reaction to this unwarranted?
So, every AI company has their own terms of service. So it's a good idea to get to understand what they are. And also, but their terms of service tend to change over time. As they always say, if you are using something for free, you are the product. So you have to assume that they're going to do whatever they want to with your information to make their product better. They're not, I don't think they intentionally want to release your information to the public, but what happens with large language models is like a neural network, like our brain. There's a whole bunch of information in there. And so as you're having these chat conversations with either ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Gemini or Claude or whatever, it is, obviously you're having these conversations back and forth, and all of your information is going back into its neural network to improve it. But then it's all like sitting there. So that's why you would hear these reports of all of a sudden in an answer that was, it was kind of relevant, but like someone's kind of personally identifiable information would show up in an answer. Again, it wasn't intentional, but that's just what neural networks do. So I would say yes, don't confidential information, client proprietary information, financial information. It's not a good idea to put it in there because you don't know, again, not intentionally, but where it's going to end up. Now, I believe that there are some AI companies who are creating more secure, private tools to be able to say do things like that. But again, verify who the company is, not some like fly by night, startup that just put up a website last week and then wants to charge you $10 a month to upload your financial data. So instead, just go to Danielle.
Yeah. I think that's part of my problem. Now I wanna be
Yeah.
clear. I'm an active user of AI. It plays various roles for me personally, at home, and in my business. So I'm saying this as a heavy daily user of the tool. What I am concerned about, and this is for myself as well, that I don't wanna outsource my ability and my choice to research, to learn, and decide. So if I go and ask Gemini or ChatGPT to do the research for me, it is summarizing it in such a nice, neat little package that I actually don't need to go and do the research, meaning I'm not going to read other blogs. I'm not going to form my own opinion on said question. And so I think for me, that's my biggest issue with it. And when we're uploading something like our financial statements, we don't know if they're accurate. We don't know if it has the right information. And then we've just outsourced this this really important task that really only you as the CEO should be doing. So, um, I want to hear your thoughts on that, and then how we can
Yeah.
make sure that our companies are showing up when other people are asking these questions, because I know that is the way of the world. The world.
Right. Okay, so I will say one more thing about the financial data and in just any type of math whatsoever. Large language models are not that great at math.
Yeah.
And unless they've been specifically trained and they have another tool that they work with that specifically is will do math for you. So just because you upload financial data does not mean that you're going to get back accurate information.
It's
So just
I have to say that I normally, if I've done any analysis with it, I have had to go back several times because it is not accurate and it's not pulling what I need it to pull. And so from somebody who knows how to do the analysis and understands that, it is not coming back the way that I want it to yet.
yes, because large language models hallucinate. You all probably have heard that term, which is again not intentionally, but it will make stuff up. And this is actually a great bridge to our next discussion about the new SEO. So, but here's I was watching this video last week where this guy who is the founder of an SEO company called SpyFu. They've been around for almost 20 years, and then you can go there and enter in a website URL, and it'll tell you where it's ranked, like Google, Google search. So he had been using chat, and this is the guy who owns this company, this SEO ranking company for 20 years. He had been using ChatGPT to do keyword research. So ChatGPT very confidently, would come back with this search term gets, 1,200 visits, hits a month. This search term gets 33,000 hits or whatever. He eventually found out that it was all those numbers were totally made up because he would check it against his own
Yeah.
accurate data. So ChatGPT is just confidently giving all these numbers that have no basis in reality.
And it's not telling you, "Hey, I'm hallucinating right now."
No, no, it's very
Yeah,
confident.
it's very convincing.
Yes. Yes. Right. Okay. So let's talk about the SEO side of this. Now, this is what I find really exciting. So all of you know about search engine optimization. So when someone does a Google search, you want your website to rank highly so that they come to you, which is great. And you probably on your website have optimized for search engine queries. Maybe you have certain blog articles that you've written based on what people would search on. That would be a good lead for your website. You have all your headlines and your header content and all of that. So for AI chatbots, what happens now is that if someone asks a question, again in ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., now when they provide the answer, a lot of times they'll give sources. So they'll give the website where they got the information from. And I have noticed in my own Google Analytics for the speakingyourbrand.com website that I am getting referral traffic from ChatGPT. It would actually say, referral, like LinkedIn is one of the referrals I get, but ChatGPT. So Speaking Your Brand is showing up in these chatbot
And
answers.
that's coming up in the analytics, you can see that?
It's coming up in the
Okay,
analytics,
good.
yes. I don't know I don't know, like, what the prompt was that the person put
Yeah.
in where speaking your brand was one of the sources. Unfortunately, they don't give you that information, but it's good to know that I am getting referral
So
traffic
we can all
from
go check
ChatGPT.
our Google Analytics
Yes.
to see it. Okay.
Yes, exactly, yes. So if you are, great. If you're not, this is an incredible opportunity because SEO has been pretty static
Mhm.
for a while. Like if the top websites rank really high, and it's really hard to beat them, right? They've been around for a long time. They have a lot of authority. AI chatbots is kind of like a whole new territory that we can work with. So think about, and you can actually have ChatGPT help you with this, which I did, is to write pillar blog content or website content based on what would someone be asking an AI chatbot about that would be relevant to your business that you would want to show up. So for example, maybe for mine, it would be how do I create a signature talk? Or I get really nervous when I'm speaking in public. How do I reduce my nerves? So then I want to create really authoritative pages of content on those specific topics. Again, very similar to what you may have already done for SEO, but there's some kind of like what they call schemas that are very specific to the structure of the page. Because what AI chatbots want is like a TLDR at the top, all the content, and then a summary at the bottom. It also really likes sources. So if you have a podcast, reference podcast episodes dealing with that particular topic or other original kind of sources that you
Okay.
have for your business. And so again, ChatGPT can help you with structuring the page and also giving you that schema data to put into your website.
Alright, so those are some very clear action steps that we can go and take right now. Do you think SEO is dead? Like, do we have to do both? Do we still have to make sure that we're set up for traditional search as well as AI?
Yes, do both. I think we're gonna start seeing like the tilt, right? Of more people are using chatbots to do searches versus traditional Google search. So monitor just like you monitor your financial data, monitor your Google Analytics, check every month and see, am I getting more referral traffic from AI chatbots? What is my website visitors? What does that look like? Is it going up or is it going down? So we definitely still need both, but I think we're going to start seeing that tilt.
Okay. Let's circle back to how do we embrace AI with excitement? You have kind of 3 key areas where you're helping business owners embrace AI and implement AI in their business. So maybe you can walk us through those 3 pillars.
Yeah, so they're operations, marketing, and revenue. So those are kind of the 3 buckets that I think about for a business and where AI could fit in. So on let's talk so the on the operations side, that really is thinking about what are those regular routine tasks that you or a team member do all of the time that are process based, where okay, we do these are the 5 steps that always happen in this process, and then see how AI can be integrated into it. Now, a lot of times it feels like extra work to go to ask ChatGPT for feedback or to revise something. And it is, it becomes an extra step. So it's like, what is the point? So, what helps with that is to use what are called automation workflows. So, I use one called make.com, make.com. which you basically have all these different modules and you hook things up and then their workflow goes through together. So I'll give you an
Okay.
example. And this is kind of also related to the marketing bucket. So I have my Speaking Your Brand podcast, which I've been doing for over 8 years, over 440 some episodes. So a lot of episodes, a lot of content that I've produced. And which is great. But then the problem is a new listener comes, they find the podcast, they probably start with the most recent episode. But then I have content that they may be more interested in, but it's buried in that back catalog. Like they can't really find necessarily the answer to the question they have. So for the past few years, I've had this idea. Well, I want to create a companion podcast that are very short episodes, 3 to 5 minutes long, on specific questions. So not guest interviews, not me rambling for 20 minutes about a topic, but just very specific answers. But I never have had the time to sit down. You have to script it out and you have to
Oh, if
record
you're
it
only
and
gonna
edit it.
talk for
Like,
3 to 5 minutes, you have to be
right.
so clear and planned.
Yes,
It's
right.
insane.
It is. So it has never happened until earlier this year. So I built this whole automation workflow. And what happens is that I have a list of kind of questions or topics that people would ask related to what I talk about. So personal branding, public speaking, thought leadership. So I have all these questions in an Airtable spreadsheet. And once I select which is the next question that I want to produce a podcast episode for, the workflow kicks off. And then it goes and looks at all of my prior podcast content. So this is key. It's not just AI like writing just a script based on whatever information is in this large language model from the entire internet. It's looking at my past podcast content, finding the pieces that are most relevant. Then it uses ChatGPT's, OpenAI's API to write a script for that 3 to 5 minutes. It writes the show notes. And then it sends the script to 11 Labs, which is where I have cloned my voice based on all of my podcast audio. So it sounds just like me. And then it takes the finished podcast episode and sends it to my podcast host. Now, a regular human Speaking Your Brand podcast takes about 4 hours to produce.
Yeah.
Recording, guest setup, post production, Danielle, right? For about 4 hours, give or take. This companion podcast episode takes 1 minute from start to finish. The entire thing is done. It sounds just like me. It's based on all of my stories, my frameworks, everything that I've talked about. But honestly, it's even better than the scripts that I would have written myself because it does such a good job. So I have about 20 episodes right now, and I have almost 1,000
I would say,
downloads.
yeah, how is it
With
performing? Are
yeah,
people
but what?
tuning into that? Are they
Yes,
open?
yes, almost 1,000 downloads with no
And have
visibility.
you
Like I've
told
talked
people
about
that
it.
it's AI generated? Okay.
Yes, yes. So at the very beginning, it says like, "Hi, welcome." It's called Confident Speaker, so you can go check it
Okay.
out. It says like, "Hi, welcome to the Confident Speaker podcast. This is your host, AI Carol." So it always starts with that, and then at the very end of the episode, it says, "This was, an AI generated podcast." Da da da. And in the show notes, it says that as well because I'm very transparent about it. But honestly, I could probably take that off, and people would not know.
Yeah, I'm curious,
Yeah.
the adoption rate and openness to AI is so across the board. I think that there'll be people who listen just because it's AI generated, and some people who will refuse to listen to
Yes.
it because it's AI
Yes, right,
generated.
yes. They can listen to the Human Speaking Your Brand podcast, it's
Yeah,
fine.
so no plans to completely change over. That is going to accompany Speaking Your Brand.
Correct, it is a companion podcast because, like, in that literally that click the button in 1 minute, I have an entire new episode that is gonna help someone out in a way that I wasn't able to before, and that this entire new channel that requires 0 effort on my part.
Okay.
I think that's a huge win,
Huge.
like, for me and for the listeners who find
Yeah.
it.
Okay, what else in operations
Yeah.
should we be thinking about?
Mhm.
I'm going in a million different directions. Is there anything else that we can do to think through what could possibly that we could be saving time or energy efficiency on?
Yeah, so well, this is funny. So for those of you if you're watching the video, which you should watch. Okay, so I have this stack of index cards here, very old school. So I actually did this about a year ago. I was Marie Kondoing my house, going through and like getting rid of all of the stuff. And she has another book about doing the same thing for your work, like finding what is the joy in your work. So she recommends this process. So I have all these index cards. And on them, I wrote down literally like every single thing that I do for a task, like every task, and then all the things that I have to go into that. So I wrote that down for every single thing I do in the business. Now I've started to go through those and see where can automations and AI do that. What I put on. So I just go through those index cards every so often and start building these workflows. So that is really so let me give you another example. You all may have heard of AI agents. So agents are things that are supposed to go do things on your behalf and then come back to you with like the final answer or with whatever they've been working on. So they're a little bit rudimentary right now, but they're definitely going to get more sophisticated and more capable over time. So what I did is that I use Slack. And so now I can go into my Slack channel and either I can type or I can do a voice memo or I can type into the Slack app on my phone with some type of request that I have from my agent. So I can say like schedule a meeting with so and so on this date and time or send an email to so and so. But then the AI fills in, decides what it needs to do, like which tool it needs to use, calendar, email, CRM, project management, etc. Goes and does the task, but then writes out the whole nice email like ChatGPT would, right? Like fills in all the blanks. I don't have to be very like specific about it. So that is really cool because we have our VAs and assistants and things like that, but sometimes I don't want to bother them or like it's, late at night or early in the morning, or I also want them to do other things, right? Not necessarily scheduling things on the calendar that pop into
It's
to
hard
my
for me
mind.
to ask, a VA or somebody on my team to do things that feel faster for me to do it than to ask them to do it,
Yes.
and then if they have a question on it because it doesn't make sense, I'm like, "Ugh, now I should have just done it." So, is it asking questions so that you can clarify, or is it just giving you the text and then you have to decide what you want to change?
Yeah. So right now, the way that mine was a very, very, very early prototype of it. So it's very basic. I just give it the direction and it goes and does it and comes back, like 30 seconds later and says, okay, I scheduled the meeting. But they are going to get more sophisticated where you can have more of a back and forth.
Okay, perfect. Alright, anything
Yeah.
else in
Yes.
operations, or should we move to the next bucket?
Yeah, okay, so operations, again, just think about those repetitive things that you can build these automations for. Then the next bucket is marketing. So we touched on that a bit with this idea of my companion podcast. So I ran this 4-week program a few months ago to help our clients integrate AI into what they're doing within their business and their content creation. So there were a few of them who already had a podcast. So they too are creating like this AI version of their podcast. And there were a couple of women in the program who did not have a podcast, but they had a rich content library, blog posts, email newsletters, like, LinkedIn posts, like they had good content. So they've actually launched an AI generated podcast because they never would have launched their own podcast. They just didn't have like the desire or the edit, wanting to do the editing or hire someone to do the editing. So now they have a whole new marketing channel based on all of their existing content, again, that they didn't have before.
How are people brainstorming these ideas? Like, if somebody's listening, like, "Oh, that's cool. That's not I don't know what to do." How does somebody brainstorm that idea?
Yeah, that's hard. Well, they say I'm very fortunate because my business partner slash husband is also a techie and he's my research and development arm. Like he
Okay.
lives and breathes this stuff. He does this all day long. And then he'll tell me, okay, like here are the things, Carol, for you to look at. And then I'll like kind of look through them and figure out what are the best things for to use in the business. So I would say like find a techie person that you can be friends with who loves this stuff and does a lot of the R&D, or like listen to podcasts like this to get ideas. Really, I think that's the best way. There's lots of people doing YouTube tutorials. They vary in quality. Some of them are a little bit more, you have to be more technically savvy, some less so. So I would say kind of focus on just a few things at the beginning, kind of get your feet wet, especially with the automation workflows, and then build from there.
Awesome. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Okay, what is our last bucket?
Okay, so revenue. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is exciting because this is where I kind of come back to the beginning part of our conversation where I said, AI may already be disrupting your business and you may or may not already know that. People who maybe would have been your clients are using AI because they think it's just as good or it's good enough for what they can do and it may be or may not be. So I've been thinking about for speaking your brand, we are a very human to human, high
You are.
touch service.
Yes.
We work with our clients. We do 3-hour Zoom VIP days. Danielle, you've done one with me. And so, it's very like, interactive. I'm listening, I'm asking questions. And then we do our 1-day speaking workshop. So we love that human connection. I've also realized over the years that because we are a high touch service, it is a premium price point and not everyone has the budget for it. And so we have, I have a lot of podcast listeners or people in my audience who maybe would love to work with us and I would love to support them, but it just hasn't been possible for them. So right now I am building an app called Chat SYB, kind of like Chat GPT, but Chat Speaking Your Brand, that is taking all of our methodology, our frameworks for how we do the work that we do, and I'm teaching the AI agent how to do what we do in a VIP day. So asking questions of the person about their topic, their audience, walking them through our entire framework to build out their talk, and then they'll get their talk at the very end. So it's a very interactive process. The person can leave, come back to the session later. It's based again on all of the content and the way that we work. Now, is it going to be as good as sitting down with me or with Diane, my other coach, for that 3-hour VIP day? Probably not, but it's going to be at a much lower price point. So at least it gets the person much further ahead than trying to do this themselves in their own head.
So do you find that that's the way that people are able to I wanna use the word replicate themselves? Like, are you finding that
Mhm.
people are offering these tools? I actually haven't seen a lot of it live and in action, but I've heard people conceptually speak about it. Are you seeing people implement that live?
So I have not seen it.
Okay.
I'm hoping that it becomes more popular. So the idea is that we're gonna kind of pilot this for speaking your brand, and then I want to be able to expand the platform that we're building it on, so that other coaches and consultants can load in their own content, like their own frameworks and methodology, and then have their clients use that service for their own stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Alright. Anything else in
Yeah.
revenue that we should leave people with?
I think that's the main thing is think about how can you provide a service to either your existing clients or to people who have never become a client. How can you use AI to provide a service to them that wasn't possible before?
Okay. One thing that I'm thinking of for us is we
Mm.
are done for you, done with you service. And so similar to yours, it is it is high touch. We need cooperation, we need full engagement. It is at a higher price point. And so we are exploring this is something similar so that
Mm.
we have a lower price point that people can get access to that information without, please do not upload your financial data
Yes.
into
Yes.
I'm going to overcome that.
That's a great idea. I love that. I think that it will open up so much more because I think about with AI is that we can provide personalization at scale, like true personalization, but also democratize access to our services to people who otherwise wouldn't be able to.
Alright, I am excited, right? So, I hear
Yeah.
the excitement in your voice. I had mentioned to you before we started recording that when I hear you talk about AI, I literally see and hear you light up. But there are still people who are afraid and approaching this with fear. So, if you are a listener who made it this far into the podcast episode, maybe not, how can that person, maybe embrace the thought of implementing AI in their own business or even be open to it when they see other people who are implementing it as part of their business.
Yeah, I would ask, so where is the either the fear or the skepticism or the resistance coming from? And I'll be honest that at, the almost 3 years now I've been using ChatGPT, what I've kind of realized is that, huh, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was, right? Or, I mean, clearly I'm smart. It's not that, and as are all of you. But then there is a little bit of it kind of hurts a little bit when you see ChatGPT being able to do things so well in literally a matter of seconds
Yeah.
that it would take me, right, like a long time, not necessarily a long time, but a lot of effort to produce the same thing. So I feel like as humans in our society, I feel like there's gonna be a huge, like there's gonna be a moment where everyone has to realize, "Well, what am I really good at? Like, what is my value? What value am I providing to other people?" I don't have the answer to that, but I think if you're skeptical about AI, like, feel like, where is the resistance coming from? And if it's just like a blanket, "I don't wanna use it," well, it's kinda like, well, do you not wanna use a car? Do you not wanna use a refrigerator? I mean, electricity, like,
You have a
AI's here.
website?
Right, you have a website, like, whether, it's gonna stay where it's at or it's gonna get, significantly better or what have you, it is here, people are gonna use it. A lot of clients now honestly expect us to, which we do, to use AI to help them with their speaking proposals or to come up with titles for their talks.
Interesting.
ChatGPT
People
is
are
great
actually
at that.
expecting that. Okay.
Yes, yes, because they're using it, so they're like, "Well, if you're not using AI, where have you been? But then are you providing as good of a service as you could?"
That is a reframe. That is a way of flipping that fear on the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, for the people who are excited about AI, can you share, how listeners can work with you and learn more?
Yeah, so go to speakingyourbrand.com/AI, and you'll see there about this 4-week program that I run called Automate and Amplify with AI. It is especially good if you create content for your business and you want to be able to create AI generated content that is high quality and on brand. So not just like random ChatGPT revisions that it comes up with, but actually workflows that produces on brand content for you. Now, you don't have to be a content creator as your business, but you're just creating content for your business. So marketing content, whether it's blogs, podcasts, YouTubes. So speakingyourbrand.com/AI, you can get details there and you can apply. And then in the application form, you just kind of tell me a little bit about what you do in your business, what you're looking to do. And then I make sure that you're a good fit for the program based on what you're looking for.
Alright, perfect. Carol, any last
Yes.
words of wisdom that you wanna leave us with?
I would say just stay curious and stay open and be willing to experiment and be willing to recognize that AI is not always going to get it right. It can be frustrating. You can go down a rabbit hole and be like, okay, where did I end up with this? But also recognize how much potential it has to allow you to do things in a way that weren't possible before.
Awesome. I'll leave it there. Thank you.